And we are
Hi.
on. All right.
How are
So,
you?
welcome to Intuitive Vibes, Narc Survival 101. It's your girl, Erica, here. Today is, you guessed it, Testimonial Thursday. I've gotten some pretty good reviews from was it last week or a week? I think a week and a half ago.
I think
The last
yes.
testimonial.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I've actually gotten some more people interested in doing testimonies. And of course, we have my special guest today is Leah.
Yay!
How are you, Leah?
I'm Leah from you already know No Narc Zone, but I'm doing well. How are you?
One day at a time. That's
Yes,
that's
that's
pretty
how we
much
gotta
how we
do
do
it.
it.
Yes,
That's how
that's
we
how
do it.
we do
So
it.
Leah has agreed to join us and give us her story. She's agreed to to help other people who are going through the motions, who are trying to deal with the process, trying to process things. And her story is definitely one to tell. We have spoken prior to doing this recording, and she definitely is the epitome of a strong woman. So,
Oh,
guys,
thank you.
no problem. You guys, I'm gonna give you the center stage, Leah. And you can pretty much just, let everybody know. We'll start with a little background of your story and then
Okay.
we'll work our way into it. So, stage is yours.
All right. Well, as you all know, my name is Leah, and I was in a narcissistic relationship, abusive relationship for. Can you even say that abusive relationship
I think
for?
it fits it.
All right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes YouTube want to censor certain things. So anyway, I was in a narcissistic relationship for 12 years. We have two children together. Um, yeah, and it was chaotic, a lot of turmoil. And in the beginning, when I just met him, it was nothing but love bombing. The love bombing didn't last too long, though. It only lasted for like 3 months. Okay, and the first sign of I knew that it was something wrong was I was laying on my bed, and he came up. No, he said something really weird to me, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know it was something really crazy because I got very upset. And he came and he leaned over by the bed and said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That would never happen again. And it stuck in my head for a while because I was like, wait, who would say this to a person, they barely even know, say something. So it was just out off the wall. I knew it was because I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know it was something crazy because I took back. It took me back. I was like, wait, hold on. So anyway, he fixed himself for a couple of weeks after that. And he was good. He was helping me a lot. He was doing, how they do with the whole love bombing thing. He was doing a lot. He was taking my child to school, picking her up and whatnot. And he was just helping me a lot. And then here we go with another sign. It was another sign where um something happened. I think where I went out and I went to my older daughter event. And when we came, no, he left the event because he said that I was flirting with my daughter father. And he left the event. And when we got home, um all hell broke loose. We had the most terrifying fight ever where it was police calls. His whole arm got cut up because he punched his arm into the window, and he cut his whole arm up. And it was like my whole block was flooded with police and stuff like that. So I said, okay, maybe, we had a couple of drinks, so maybe it was the alcohol, and it wasn't going to be nothing else after that. And then I noticed it started becoming a pattern with the, toxic behavior. It was one thing after another. And then I'm like, okay, well, something got to give. A few months after that, I think I got pregnant very early within the situation. I think I got pregnant 6 to 7 months in our situation. So when I got pregnant, he changed. I mean, he was already bad, but when I got pregnant, he changed to the point where I started walking on eggshells. That point where um I couldn't say nothing to him. He wouldn't allow me to talk. He did some really bad things to me when I was pregnant with my daughter. I mean, very bad things, you know. And I don't know if I should say all of that here, but
I think people can probably, like
have an idea
have
of
an idea of it.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a point where it wasn't so much of me anymore. It was more so of me protecting my child, because now I have an unborn child I had to protect. And it was just a lot throughout the pregnancy. And I would walk on eggshell. I couldn't say much to him. He didn't listen to anything I said, or he just had me in a state where I was timid to say anything or to talk to him. You know, they give you that thing where they want you to fear them. So that's what the state I was in throughout my whole pregnancy. I went through that, and some other stuff, like I said, I'd rather not talk about here on your platform. But it was to the point where it was gut wrenching. Like when I had, I tried to deliver my daughter on my own. You know, like I said, I don't want to get too gruesome, but I remember using tools to try to take the baby out myself, because it was just too much for me to deal with at that point. So I'm like, okay, I have to get this baby out of me. And I have a lot of people that can say, oh gosh, you know, because it was someone that at the time I was working, I was doing childcare at the time, and I had an assistant. And she would, you know, she would hold me up and say, you're going to be all right. Don't worry. You know, we're going to get through this. And you know how some people gain weight when they're pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
I literally lost like at least 40 pounds with my first daughter with
You
him.
had like a high risk pregnancy.
No, it wasn't a high risk.
Really?
He came out very big. She was actually 9 pounds, 4 ounces, very big baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost so much weight, and it was so weird because the baby was fine. She was healthy, but me, I couldn't keep weight on, you know. And when I had her, I went down to like 115 after I had her. Yeah. So, you know, after she came, you know, it didn't stop. It went on and on and on. And it was just a lot going on after she came. And when she was born, like 2 weeks after she was born, you know, he did something very bad. Okay. And I kept that, you know, to myself for a long time. I shared it with a couple of people, but it was so bad because I had to shield my baby and hold her, you know, and hold like over her. And then I had my neighbors, they ran down and helped me. And, you know, because I don't think he wanted to have the baby. I think, you know, and back then I didn't know that he suffered from NPD. So it was like, okay, I just thought that I was dealing with someone who had PTSD because he was in the military or whatnot. So I'm saying to myself, okay, well, maybe he suffered from some kind of post-traumatic stress or something because he spent so much years in the military. But I just noticed that it would just get from bad to worse. And then he would have, you know, sometimes where we would go do a week of goodness, you know, where he's showing love, and you know how they show their little love bombing, and then they go right back to doing
That's
these.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes, yeah, the black and white, you know, and he go right back to doing the craziness, and I'm like, okay, I don't know when this gonna stop. And then a lot of things that he did, he would ghost me sometimes, you know, for like weekends or maybe a week. He would go when I just had the baby, he would ghost me, and he would say, okay, it's because your daughter is around. My older daughter, which she was a child at the time. I don't want to be around if your daughter is around. Yeah, my other daughter, you know. So he would say, okay, if she don't go to her dad, I'm leaving, you know, and stuff like that. So I would, you know, to keep the peace, being that I already know, I already gave had this baby, and I'm like, okay, well, I had his baby. What I'm gonna do? I would be like, okay, to her father, you got to come and get her, and it caused a lot of friction between me and my daughter, the one I had prior to him, because she felt like I was taking his side as far as not wanting to be her mom because he's around, and he was like, I'm taking their side, because it was just like a lot of. So anyway, that's pretty much the beginning. I mean, I can go into depths, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit clean because we don't want to get too gruesome on here.
I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're
Yeah.
comfortable with discussing, and whatever you're not, that's perfectly fine. Um, I mean, it's clear that you can, for a lot of viewers, they're gonna see, they can see the type of nature that people of this caliber can extort to, as far as isolation, because clearly.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was isolated, whole like 100%, especially in the beginning. I know, because I have a fighting spirit, so I know I was fighting it a lot. I would try to fight it, but because I also like to keep the peace at times,
Right.
I would just be like, okay, you know what, just let him have it, because I don't want to have all of that tension and the arguing and so much going on within the home. So I try to just deal with it, but sometimes it was, especially being pregnant, it was very overwhelming being pregnant with the narcissist. It was very overwhelming. It was like being in a cage, because you can't do much. Um, he did some things to me when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I thought that he did that because he wanted me to abort her, naturally, so he would do things, I think, so the baby will come out and might not survive, so that part, I don't even like looking back at it because it was really hard. It was a very hard
Imagine,
time,
I
you
can
know.
definitely imagine, and I mean, but needless to say, all of your children are healthy,
Oh yeah, yeah,
all of your
very much
children are
so.
good, and
Praise
that's
God.
the key
Yeah.
important thing.
Mhm.
um Now, as far as in light of this, because you have a lot of victims and of course survivors that are still kind of they're kind of going back and forth,
You
going
might
through
hear a little noise
emotions.
in the background of you guys.
No worries. That you have people going through the motions, and some of them like are on the fence about what they want to do, because like that beginning stage of after a discard, it's
Mhm.
like you're in a fog, you're in the
Oh
cloud.
gosh, the fog is real in the beginning. Oh my gosh, and especially after the discard,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. Like, I remembered, but nothing was clear to me when I just got discarded. It was just like, oh my gosh, like, can I get my brain back?
Yeah, massive
You know?
confusion. and
Yeah, it was so much confusion.
and I mean,
Yeah.
clearly you would think that, um considering the amount of time you guys had together and everything you had done to fulfill,
Yeah.
your not only your end, but fulfill the relationship, and then for them to still decide to do something after everything that you had gone through with them. um
Yeah.
Most people would probably look at it like, seriously, like, how could you, after she's been there for you, she's provided a home, she's giving you children,
Yeah,
and
because let me tell you what happened. Okay, I'm gonna just jump back into the beginning for a minute. So when he just came, he had came from I think he was in Thailand at the time, and then he came from Thailand. He stayed in California for a couple of months, and then he went to his brother. He pretty much was homeless. Okay, he didn't have his own home. He was staying on his brother's couch at the time, and I happened to just go to her house because that was my girlfriend. And I went to her house and I met him, and he took me home. He said, "Oh, I'll take you home." And being that that was my girlfriend's husband, brother, I trusted him to a certain extent, and I had met him prior to that, a couple of years prior to that. So I'm like, okay, I trust he'll take me home. And, he did take me home safely. And I think he left that night. But then, he came back.
Mm.
And no, he didn't leave that night. No, he stayed over that night, and then he came back again. And when he came back, he never left. He never. He stayed. He sat on my couch, and I would complain and like, why won't this person leave my home? And he didn't have no supply because he was just coming from a foreign country. Come to find out, he was dealing with someone in California for a couple of months when he left. He took a car from that lady. The lady tried to email me back then. And us as the new supply, we never
Listen. Never.
we never take
It's
those red flags for
yeah.
anything because we're getting all this love bombing, and the person, and trust me, his love bombing was serious. He would, wake up, make sure I have my coffee, massage my feet, and and it was so intermittent though, because sometimes he'd just be so grumpy, and I'm like, and then he'd go, oh no, and then he'll do whatever it takes to get me back on my good side, you know. So it's confusing because you don't know if they're that way really or the bad way really. You just feel like, okay, which one is really them? So
Yeah.
it's, you love the feeling of when they are love bombing you,
Mm.
but that feeling you get when they are being so aggressive and abusive is just as high. And you're like, oh gosh, which one should I trust? you
Yeah.
know?
And it's their way of, in anyone in situations like this, it's their way of
Yeah,
conditioning
yeah,
to kind of mold you
yeah,
to fit that those characters,
yeah.
so like they, in actuality, you think maybe they're having a bad day, or but in the actual, the realness of it is that they're such deep voids that, and the fact that I'm pretty sure he more than likely, which is common in most narcissistically abusive relationships, I'm sure he deflected blame as to you
Of
being the
course,
reason for
of
his
course.
behaviors.
Everything. I am. It was just Leah, Leah, Leah. You did everything. You made my whole life what it is today and yesterday and the day I met him. It was like, they never appreciate anything either or remember your good deeds. They only remember whatever it is that did good for you. But anything that you done is just thrown out the window. You know.
That's crazy. It's just crazy how people like this exist. It's like,
Yeah, and that's the thing that, kind of when I got discarded in 2019, that was the hardest part for me. Just, I mean, he was just oh God, he got evil. I mean, he was evil at times, but throughout that discard, people don't understand how much a monster you see. You don't even see them. It don't even look like them. Their appearance change. Everything about the individual is just something you just do not recognize. The way they talk to you. Sometimes their voice even change. And I was stunned. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I know I saw an evil side, but he somewhat felt like he needed me back then. But then when he got the new supply, it was like, okay, I can show my whole true self and rip that mask completely off and show this thing who I really am. You know what I mean?
right.
Because, like I always say, they don't consider us real people. They consider us objects and things. So it was time for him to unleash all his wickedness onto me and my girls too, because he would be so evil to me in front of them. He wouldn't do it directly to them, but because he's doing it in front of them and they're crying and screaming at times. And I mean, It was a horrible sight to see. I even, saw him go through the whole collapse stage, and it was harsh.
And so just to clarify, how long were you and this person together?
Oh, 12 years.
12 years.
We spent 12
And
together.
in I mean, which we all get the same questions, right?
Mm,
In light of seeing certain things,
mhm,
most people, especially people standing on the outside who are not
mhm,
familiar with narc abuse or
mhm.
anything that it entails, most would ask, why did you stay?
Exactly. Okay. So I'm gonna be honest. And I always like to take accountability, for myself and the reasonings for me staying. And to be honest with you, I feel wholeheartedly that I was a broken person back then. I wasn't whole. I didn't know who I was. And then you feel like you have to grab onto something when you're not feeling like a whole person,
Right.
so I think that's where I was at. No, I actually know that's where I was back then. I had just dealt with a situation that was a little shaky. I mean, he wasn't a narcissist. He was a pretty nice guy, but I found out that he was married. And the
Mhm.
first person that showed me that attention and that care, I held on to it because I was looking for something to soothe that already pain that I felt inside. So I felt like, and sometimes if we go through these things repetitively, if that's a way, if we go through these things, over and over, we start feeling like we're somewhat deserving, subconsciously.
Right.
And I think that's what it was. I felt like maybe within me, this is it. Where do I stand? Where's my place when it comes to a real healthy relationship? And I held on to it because I would just highlight the good moments and make that a reason for me to stay. you
Yes.
know
That's actually a very, very common reason for a lot of
yeah.
people. They
Hmm.
highlight the good aspects
Yeah.
and they tend to kind of push aside the
Yeah,
bad
all
aspects.
of the the toxicity, we tend to shove that under the rug, especially the look. Sometimes it looks good, for others, and we like that too. We like to be able to say we whole with a family,
Right.
opposed to following what people always say, oh, you're a single mom, or you're just a baby mother. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it is subconscious. We do these things because we feel whole having a mate,
Right.
there with us. So it makes us feel safe sometimes. And even if we're going through a lot of stuff within the relationship, we still feel safe having someone there.
Right. No, that you're absolutely right. I mean, um, coming to terms with my codependency, I
Yeah.
learned that
Hmm.
I put up with a lot of toxic, abusive behaviors because
Hmm.
I lack self love
Yeah.
and I couldn't validate myself. So I
Mhm.
relied on someone else to validate me.
Yeah.
And when they didn't validate me, that's when my fears would kick in. Or if they threatened to leave me, my fear of abandonment would kick in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they, a lot of them in that position would take that as that's your weakness,
Your weakness.
and I'm
Yeah.
going to use it against you
Like, yeah.
to hold control over you.
Yeah.
And it's in meantime, you have the power in your hands the entire time. But of course, they know that they won't
I have
tell you that.
one question for you, okay? Because I don't know what the signs of codependency is, and I do hear it thrown out there a lot, but I don't know what the signs is. Like, what is the signs that you're codependent? Codependent.
Um, well, codependency basically the signs are, it's really constant anxiety.
Mm,
And it's where This is where I explain on my channel to a lot of people, because codependence,
Mm-hmm.
the behaviors
Mm-hmm.
are similar to narcissist behaviors.
Really?
Yes, they're
Mm-hmm.
very similar. And codependents are either raised by, it doesn't have to be, but they could be raised by narcissist parents
Mm-hmm.
or extremely detached parents,
Okay.
inconsistent parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I learned about mine, I understood, because at the time, when you're a codependent, you don't really know. You're not sitting there saying, "Oh my God, I'm a codependent. This is why I'm acting this way."
Yeah.
You've been so used to these types of behaviors from
Mm-hmm.
yourself and
From yourself, yeah.
accepting those behaviors
Right.
from other
From
people.
others, yeah.
But you do notice you have extreme trust issues.
Well,
Um,
that's one of my look. I can say ding to that.
yeah, extreme trust issues,
Yeah.
because it's again that fear. It's all fear
Mm-hmm.
based.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you basically you become really clingy in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
where you are, I'm not going to say you try to isolate the person, but you kind of smother them, in the sense
Okay.
of that, because
Yeah.
that fear of abandonment kicks in, or if
Really?
something triggers that fear,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of, you have like that I know what's best for you attitude.
Okay.
Most codependents derive from, it's usually single parent
Um,
homes.
mm-hmm.
And most codependents they're like the caregivers. So a
Okay.
lot of them have been pushed to parentify at a very young age. So
Mm-hmm.
if, for example, your mom was a single mom and you were
Mm-hmm.
the oldest and you had
Right.
other siblings.
I
um,
never really looked into codependency much. I know, I looked into empath, but I never looked into it too much because I wouldn't consider myself a codependent only because I know that I like being alone. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And I don't want to be smothered by someone. And and not only that, I never saw myself as someone who depends on, like, kind of dependent on someone else.
hmm,
So I never was inclined to look into what codependency is. I mean, after I found out about narcissism, I'm just like, listen, it's probably nothing that you can tell me that I don't be like, oh, uh, that's him. Okay.
right.
And especially after I got discarded, and then I probably, like I said before on my platform, or maybe to you, I think I said it to you before, I knew it was something wrong. I didn't know what it was. And I think I looked at those papers that was there, the medical records and stuff that was there
Hmm.
all along. I think I looked at them over and over and just didn't know what I was looking at. And once I found out and I knew what I was looking at, and then I got the confirmation from him, it was like, okay, wow, first of all, why you didn't tell me? You know what I'm saying? Of course,
That is
they
something you
tell you.
disclose to people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to tell you that, because of course you're going to run away if someone just come out and say, listen, I have a severe issue,
Hmm.
so most of them is not going to come out and tell you that, because of course they need their supply. But yeah, let me let you get back to your show and your questions. I'm sorry.
It's again, whatever you can give. I'm sorry, I have something in my nose.
It's
Well,
okay.
whatever you can give, that would help people, because everybody's going through so many different degrees of it. Everyone is going through different phases. Maybe there aren't people who are going through it as severely as you went through it,
Hmm.
but maybe they can look for the signs
Look
to
for the signs.
avoid
Yeah, yeah,
going through that.
yeah, definitely.
But
Hmm.
I mean, in this case, what I would also suggest, just look up attachment styles, and you can look up the different types, because even though, like, I now love my solitude, I love being autonomous, I really do.
Yeah, right.
It's like I go to bed at night,
And you
like,
just feel good. That's how I feel most
you
of the
know
time. Well, I like, I like the whole idea of it now. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's all about, because a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse, um the ones who have the more extended, a lot of them, the more extended relationships, like for a long period of time, come
Yeah.
from codependent backgrounds. But in this case, I guess when and staying with this person all this time, and with the understanding that you felt in a way, it filled a void, it filled
Mhm.
something within you that you felt was just missing. And
Of
of
course.
course, it was the good, like the good aspects, the good times, the good days, the good moments when when they weren't in that shifty mood.
Yes.
um what would you say, I want to see if I asked this right, what would you say, well, like throughout everything, what was the straw that broke the camel's back for you? Like in the sense of, because you said that you had been discarded,
Yeah,
but
no, it was discarded. Yes. Hmm.
prior to the discard, because like when a discard is going to happen, they clearly
Oh no,
show
it's a lot of
signs.
chaos. Yeah, it's very chaotic before the discard. Right before a narcissist is gonna discard you, they usually make it be known that they're about to discard you. You know, you're gonna see a lot of signs. They're gonna be leaving, for a lot at that time, probably weeks, at a time. They'll probably leave because they're not sure. Um, Narcissists, when they discard you, they feel it because they don't really want to completely discard you, and a lot of times that's why they want to put you in that friend zone. And he would say a lot of things to me like, we can be friends, and I'm like, okay, but I'm your wife. What do you mean we can be friends? He's like, a wife friend. I'm like, okay. Let's just be, he's like, let's just be friends, a wife friend. I'm like, oh my God, but then I got a lot of word salad right before the discard. He would just throw out a whole bunch of jumble mumble to me, and a lot of the text messages I couldn't understand what he was talking about. And he would talk to me on the phone and I would say one thing and he would just flip it and start talking about something that made absolutely no sense to what I was trying to talk to him about. And these are the signs that you're going to be discarded, is when you start noticing, the arguments get intense. Um,
Listen to
they,
her, guys, because everything she's saying, this is definitely something
yeah,
that you need to take notes on.
yeah, the arguments get very intense. You will notice that they will pick arguments for little tiny things that was like, it wasn't even something that someone should be arguing about. They would say things like, oh, you didn't clean the house properly, or you didn't cook me this, or you cooked me this food and it's nasty, or they pick little things and you keep on trying to fix it, you know and they know that they're about to discard you because they already have the new supply already set up, there. So they already know you're about to be trashed. This is the time also when they're going around, setting the stage for the discard. They have to let everyone know that you are the most horrible person on the face of the planet, so you must go in the garbage. Okay. So that's what they doing now. They setting the stage, they picking these fights, and they making you act deranged and crazy because you don't know what's going on. You don't know they're narc. So you're acting like, what is going on? Like, why can't you just make sense? And then they're, have their little flying monkeys where the flying monkey, they want the flying monkeys to look at you and so they can say, see, you see why I have to get rid of this person, you know? And that's what they're doing in the neighborhood right now. They're just trashing you. And then when the discard come, they'll say, oh, you should have saw it coming, like that, because they created this whole mess of garbage. So they feel like, okay, now why are you surprised that, I trashed you when you saw it coming, when we already was too much arguing going on, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they don't want to completely discard you. That's why, they call it a disengagement, because they really don't want to get rid of you wholeheartedly, because they do want you in their bubble, because they have to circle back around, because they know that the new person is not going to last. They know that when they got with the new person, they know that it's not going to last. They know that it's just a supply source. And then usually if you stay with them for a long period of time, they trust you as a supply, so
Mm-hmm.
they know that you are a reliable source. Well, that's what they feel,
Right.
at that point. They feel like you are a reliable source. So the new person is not, they just want something new. They have to have something new, because they do not like to, they feel depressed, like a sense of depression, if they're getting one person for too long,
God forbid.
God forbid. Yeah.
God forbid.
Yeah.
It's like,
So,
God forbid you live with the same person for the rest of your life,
because
have
you're
a
like,
happy life.
that is something a narcissist would probably hang themselves for. They don't like that. It's like,
They're
what
so
I have to.
ass backwards, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like they don't want you, but they can't live without you, or they don't
And
want
they
to,
want no one else to have you.
and they don't want no one else to have you. If they even think that someone else, and it don't even matter if it was a source of supply that they was with for a little bit, they will circle back around just to see if someone else have you. And it can be years or 2 years or whatever later. They're going to circle back around just to peep on you, or, maybe, check your social media, or probably send you a little, hey, you know what I'm saying? How are you? Something like
Mhm.
that, just to see how you're doing. Or like with mine, he was starting to send me in my email pictures of me, pictures, like snapping pictures of me while I'm walking, or driving. He had snapped pictures and just send it to my email, and I'm looking at it like, okay.
It's like, it's to let you know that I see
I
you.
see you.
I got eyes
I'm
on
watching
you,
you.
and
Yeah.
it's
And
in
it's
a
very
way.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like to put fear. Like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like, you're
You
watching
can't,
me, and
yeah, so those are the things that I would get from mine. Like he would just do some creepy little stuff, or he'd be just standing like outside in a little dark shady area, just standing there and watching me. And it was so uncomfortable, because I didn't feel, when should I you know go out. Okay, he's when I met him, he wasn't in, but he had gotten to, the faith, and once he started reading the Bible, I mean, like I always say, don't ever put a Bible in a narcissist's hands. It's over. Okay. Because they already feel superior. And
Mhm.
the Bible speaks on, the man being above the woman,
Right.
so they already feel superior. So when they get that little bit of confirmation from, what they feel is the higher power, is
Mhm.
like, okay, listen, now not only did I think I own you, but see, God said I own you.
They
You
they
know
they
what I mean?
they twist it.
They twist it to the point where they make you feel like you're guilty. Like you're guilty for, even when it comes to wearing pants, or he would, oh, why you got those pants? Or he would take a picture. See, you got pants on in the street, stuff like that. So it was hard. It was hard.
Imagine, and just to know that you managed to go through everything you went through and get out of it in one piece, and of course, doing, being as strong as you are now. I know for a
I mean,
fact.
I still have my days, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
said, right? I'm not hurting, but I still have my days, because being in an isolated space, or a space where you have to try, your emotions is irregulated for so long,
Right.
that takes time for you to stabilize.
Right.
So you can't expect, someone to be going through that for over a decade and just all of a sudden they're just like, oh, but at the end of the day, I feel like a strong person, and I know that I have to
Mhm.
keep going. And I know that it's so many women out there that don't understand narcissism, need help with their situation, need to get out. And abusive situations in general, it's a lot of it out there. And not only with women, with men too. It's a lot of men go through abusive situations and
Right.
narcissistic situations that they need help with as well. And just knowing the signs, and and once I did find out that, the diagnosis, and it was, he was diagnosed with NPD, then I was like, okay, all of the pieces just was put. I don't even know if I can say that. I try not to say it on my channel too much because I don't know about the HIPAA law or whatever, the
I
case.
guess as long as you're not
And I'm
revealing his
not calling
identity.
one name, huh?
Yeah. As long as you're
Mhm.
not revealing his identity,
Right.
then I don't think it'd be an issue.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm like, when it comes to, narcissism, and talking about it and knowing all the trust me, I know all the signs of a narc. Like from the silent treatment they give you, um, from the hidden covert abuse. And that's the a hard part of it too. The abuse is so covert,
Yeah.
where you look almost crazy, and they have you looking crazy around people, because people, like, I went over one day to his landlord, and they think that he's the most amazing person,
Mm.
on the face of the planet. And I sometimes like, gosh, if only these people knew, who this thing was. It's like he can be very, very scary. But then he can rip that scary mask off and put on this one where it's charming and sweet and nice and kind and so helpful, where you couldn't believe a person like that can be that monster behind that.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Because when I do, and I've made it clear to my subscribers and everybody that, my ex is extremely, he has extreme narcissistic traits.
Hmm.
Is he a narc? I couldn't diagnose him, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want to go to a therapist to get diagnosed or a psychiatrist to get diagnosed.
Most of them don't. And the thing is, a lot of times when you're in like the military or stuff like that, you sometimes get diagnosed with those things being in the military, because they do like these screenings sometimes, especially if you have odd behaviors,
Right.
so that's how you end up getting diagnosis in, the system, like in the military or whatnot. But other than that, you're not going to find a narcissist that say, oh, come on, I need to go and check myself out. No, because they,
Yeah.
they don't think it's anything wrong.
Well, because they say if you're worried that you're a narcissist and you're worried about being labeled one or diagnosed as one, chances are you're probably not,
Yeah,
because
right, right.
a lot of them really don't. They're like,
No, they don't think about that stuff now.
they're just like, you're the problem, I'm not. And they can go
Mhm,
through 500 people and it's always
mhm.
one sided. All 500 people are wrong.
Yeah, wrong.
And then they're the ones who,
And,
and I mean, I never called him out to be one, but I
mhm.
can say that his behaviors definitely pointed in that
Of
direction.
course, yeah.
And maybe
Let me tell you,
probably.
I'm sorry
Mhm.
for cutting you, but even though they all the same, I mean, like all have the same traits, they all is unique.
Mhm.
It makes sense, but being that they do have all the same traits, what a narcissist is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because the traits don't change.
Right. Because it's all
So
it's all one main goal.
it's
It's
one
all
main
one
goal.
main goal.
Yeah.
Even though like a somatic and a cerebral and a malignant, they work differently. The
Mm-hmm.
end goal is still the same,
It's still
whichever
the
narc
same.
you're dealing with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I even went as far as thinking that maybe he has ASPD, because
Okay.
ASPD, antisocial
Oh,
personality disorder.
antisocial. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. A lot of narcissists is antisocial
Yeah.
in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, because the spectrum is just pretty much, it goes by grades. So it's like, and because there were certain moments where just like clearly mine was not, as because my relationship didn't last as long, but it was not, there was no, like physical abuse or anything like that. However, there was a lot of paranoia. There was I got a lot of, just the bitterness, accusations.
Oh
um
God, the accusation. Oh, don't tell
yeah,
me about it.
accusations, comparisons.
Yeah.
I got compared to an ex. I did see that there were people that he either, dealt with, dated, whatever, in the harem, different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
He was friends with his ex.
Yeah.
um but there was that discard. You never forget that discard.
Oh God, that discard is
Especially with the narcissistic rage, when that rage kicks
rage.
in,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's the one thing I think out of my entire relationship,
Mm-hmm.
I stayed focused on the good parts
Mm-hmm.
at around the time of the discard.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started to come out of the fog,
Mm-hmm.
I started to, like, my primal focus was that discard, like what happened, that
Yeah.
rage. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you have kids, you think about that,
Yeah.
like what if it had gotten so severely bad and my child was there, and if they black out, whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
anything could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that people definitely understand the signs and
Mm-hmm.
understand to stay away from people like this,
Yeah.
because if they're not going to get help, it's
Mm-hmm.
only going to get worse.
It will get worse. Yeah. It doesn't get it don't get better. Let me tell you, only time a narcissist is humble is when they literally need you. They have to have no supply source at all, meaning no one to suck from. And then you will become someone that they will somewhat cater to because they need you. And narcissists do not. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to them is them being alone. They do not like being alone because it would make them turn into something. If you ever saw, I don't know if you saw a narcissist in a what you call that when they change. What you call that again? Oh my God. I don't know why it won't come to me. But when you see them in that stage, when they're going through that cycle, their their hair get crazy. They look scary. It's like his beard was beady and um collapse. I don't know why it
Oh,
couldn't come out.
collapse.
Yes. I don't know where that word was. But anyway, when you saw a narcissist in the collapse stage before, right? When you see the narcissist in the collapse stage, and they are the most raging, evil people you'll probably ever meet when they collapse
Mhm.
because they don't have no one there, to suck from. They're hiding. They go and they hide. And he had rented a room and he was hiding and he didn't want us to see him. So when we did see him and he was just looking like, I was like, who the fuck? I
Yeah.
didn't know who that was. I
Yeah.
was like, wait, oh my God, this is so sick.
And just so we're clear, because I mentioned this in the video in the
Yeah.
narc collapse. A collapse is not to be, compared to a victim who is going through the discard, because they also withdraw. Victims withdraw and they kind of isolate themselves too when they're going through like the discard stages.
No,
Um,
yeah, no, that's true because I did. A lot of people I didn't speak to when I was going through that stage. I only had like two people that I spoke to, and it's the most hurtful thing I think you can ever experience in your life. And I went through it when coronavirus was at its height. And it had just came the coronavirus, so I was not only isolating myself from them, I had no choice but to isolate, and I don't even like to think about that time because that time was, it was a bad time in my life. But you, like I said, we do isolate ourselves to a certain extent because we don't want people to see the pain, you know, and the pain can be so severe and so deep where you don't even want people to know. And it's so embarrassing too that, wow, what did I deal with? What was that? You know, and that's what my thing was like, what the hell was that? And then I think about the whole 12 years of what was that, you know, what was that I was experiencing because you defarging and and that demon is trying to slowly detach itself from you. And you're like, okay, this was some weird shit, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's what it is. It's like once that demon start detaching itself and start moving on because they're no longer the demon comes with the narcissist.
Right.
And it's like it's sucking the shit out of you. You know what I mean? So it's hard. It's hard to detach yourself from that demon.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very big,
It's a
narcissists are the kind
strong
of people
demon.
that have strongholds.
Yeah,
And
strongholds.
with us, with getting involved with them, you're clearly creating a soul tie with them.
Yeah.
And that, that entity that's latched onto them,
Is it latches
it
onto you.
latches onto you too.
And that's
Yeah.
what it was, you know. It's like this entity that is there with them. Let me tell you what happened to me, and this is a true story. So I would go to bed with him and wake up, and my mom was staying with me. So when I would wake up, you know, I had bruises
Mm.
all over my body. And every morning, my mom would tell me, she would say, wait, is he beating you at night? And I'm like, no, nobody hit me. You know, I mean, I don't know. Because if someone hit me, I'm going to wake up and
Of
say, what?
course.
You know?
Right.
So I'm waking up with these bruises, and this is true. And I'm like, you see this? I have a big old bruise right here, and then I have a big old bruise on my leg. And it was some weird shit. I'm like, wait, why am I waking up with bruises? That's way before I knew anything about. I just knew it was something. One time, just a force pressing on my chest.
Yeah.
And you know, we don't understand how strong these spirits are. That is have a hold on them
Mm.
and want another soul, want another shell. It wants another body. So
Yeah.
it kind of latches onto you, and now it wants to take your soul and turn you into a
Yeah.
crazy person. And it also
Absolutely.
wants to make you narcissistic.
And the crazy thing about it is that um it's interesting that you said that, because when after everything, I've never seen a spirit in my life.
Oh,
I've never seen.
well, I was, you know, raised in the Caribbean, so I think
So
that's
yeah, because my mom Puerto Rican, so they
yeah,
all Latinos, they're
yeah,
so
yeah.
I never saw a spirit in my life. I've never witnessed one.
Hmm.
um I witnessed my first one after everything had happened in my old apartment, which was ironically enough the last apartment I lived in when I was with him, when he discarded me. But I standing in my kitchen. I thought someone was in my apartment. I literally saw someone walk right past me. And I,
Really?
I didn't see just like an outline. I didn't see like a
You saw the
shadow.
actual
The actual, it
figure.
looked like a person
Wow.
walking right past me. And I'm like, and it walked into my living room and then it just disappeared.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I thought, am I losing my mind? Am I
Mm-hmm.
losing my mind now? You get all types of stuff with that soul tie,
Yeah.
nightmares. I was getting crazy nightmares,
Yeah.
and I was getting not I wasn't getting beat in my sleep,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt like hands were running through me, and it felt
Right? It
very
was weird,
uncomfortable.
like uncomfortable, weird. I
It's
went through
just
all of this weird stuff. And let me ask you though, I literally, you know, feel because Knox go through these transformations, you know, when they're in that abuse stage
mm,
where they change and you know they'll be sitting there and they'll look at you and their eyes turn and it's just a weird thing and it's hard for me to explain it, but his eyes would change and he would just start going off and just start calling me all kinds of names, and I'm like,
I have subscribers, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna watch this, but a
mhm.
couple of them have mentioned the same thing,
No,
that
I experienced that many times. Many
their
times.
face
One time,
changes, like
yeah, it
the
changes. The
look.
eyes get really crazy and bulgy, and he would sit there. And one time, after the when we got our so-called honeymoon, you know, he did that little transformation thing and threatened, because we was on a high, oh god, we was so far up there in the building, and he threatened to throw me out the window. Mind you, I didn't do nothing to this person. He just transformed, and we was doing okay, and he just transformed into this demon. And then he threw my stuff at me and just said, let's go, we leaving now, before I do something I don't want to do. Or he'll just be standing there, and he'll just say, I want to chop you up in pieces
Oh my
and bury you in the
gosh.
backyard, or those are the things that I would go through with him. And
Yeah.
and within hours or even the next day, he's just the sweetest person you will ever meet, or he'll go buy me something, or it was, and I just forget about it every time, you know.
Because you know what, I understand. Trust me, mama, I understand, because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Like, when I witnessed the narcissistic rage, um it was kind of dark because we were in the car, so I really
Mhm,
couldn't see, but I
mhm,
felt, like,
mhm,
I felt it. And when I saw him gripping the steering wheel with his bare hands, and it felt like leather on leather. That's what it
mhm. Yeah.
sounded like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I had mentioned in one of my lives, I said something, there was a voice in my head, a voice in my head that said, get out of the car.
Mhm.
Get out of the car. Because when they're at that point or at that peak, you don't know. You don't
You
know
don't
what,
know.
that
You
man could
really
have snapped
don't.
my neck while I
No,
was in the
it's true.
car.
Let me tell you. And I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I had scissors drawn on me. I had moments where I was thrown, from my neck into the shower and stuff like that. But I wasn't gonna mention this part. And depending on who watch it, I mean, it's my story, and I'm gonna tell it. So right now he's in a situation, where, he did something to an ex-girlfriend in, back in Korea, and the SWAT team, everything came and got him, and, they picked him up, and now he's in the federal prison. So, no one believed me. And I feel like even up to this day, and he's even in there, his flying monkeys still think he's a saint. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird because the report says he sliced her up and all kind of, and it's not even funny because I feel sorry for the victim, because I know that he would never tell the whole truth of what happened, and I feel sorry for that victim because I know what I experienced, you know, and like I said, I'm not gonna feel bad for sharing this because I know that, maybe with his family member, they probably feel like, because they never saw him like that. So they don't know what it is that I experienced. And it was a lot of harsh stuff. And with a narcissist, they try to make you look like you're the crazy one.
Right.
And or they say things like, oh, see, she's toxic because she did this, or this one is the toxic, you know what I mean? When you're going through that reactive abuse, where
Right.
you're reacting to the abuse they're giving you.
Yep.
And now you become the psychopath when all you're doing is trying to defend yourself. And the only thing that I blame myself for is accepting. I usually always say that, just accepting. Sometimes we accept certain things that we know better not to accept, and once we see like red flags and
Because we
you
think we can change them.
yeah, in
Sometimes we
some
think we can
sense.
change them, yeah.
Yeah, in some
Or we
sense.
think that if we love them enough. you show them
Right.
enough love.
Right. Right. And and it's like you constantly keep trying to love them, to make them love you back, and no matter what you do, because see, with with a person who suffer from NPD, they
Mm-hmm.
don't do intimacy.
Right.
They might show you a little affection here and there just to keep you there, but when it comes to intimacy and cuddling all the time, and then that's not who they are. They don't do intimacy. They're not going to do the kissing and the hugging all the time, the holding the hands. They refrain from intimacy. And I used to think that, I'm like, oh, why don't you let me in? And this is what my thing was all the time. You would never let me in. And I would say that to him constantly, and that's before I knew. So now I know that they are afraid of that, because whoever hurt them, or even if they hurt themselves, because sometimes narcissists hurt themselves. They're like wrecking balls to their own self. So they constantly hurt themselves, and then they feel like everyone is hurting them because they don't even know how to care for themselves. You
Right.
know?
I mean, they look at everybody as when you. I guess they're so used to being in that position of control that when you decide to fight back or you
Mhm.
decide to stand up for yourself, they automatically go to victim mode
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
you now. Like, no, I'm not putting up with this. No, you sit down, and then
Yeah.
they're gonna sit, and then I'm the victim. Look at how she's treating me. Look at how
Yeah.
she's talking to me. Most people would look at you. It's one sided. Clearly,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
look at you. All they're gonna see is you standing up and going like this to them, but they don't understand why you're doing that.
Why are you doing that? Exactly. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because one time I was in a hotel with him, and he picked at me in that room so much. All right, to the point where I exploded. They ended up taking me away, arresting me. All right, but I didn't spend a long time there. I had to go back and forth to court though, but they ended up taking me, and I spent like a few hours in the court. But what he did was he abused me so much in that room. Right. Then he took my iPhone that I just bought and started smashing it in the wall, right? And I lost it. I just wanted to hurt him. Okay. I'm like, I hate you. And I was just going off, right? And I don't know, somebody in the hotel room probably called the police, and they ended up taking me because I was the one who was in a raging maniac because he got me there. And then he sit there like this. He sat there like this the whole time in the side and just watched them. Watched them, took me, didn't say nothing. I was like, oh my God.
Because he was playing the victim.
Oh God, I said this day going crazy. I'm like, oh, I just got to get away from this thing, you know?
But it's hard because it's kind of like, and I compared it to like smoking cigarettes, like being addicted to cigarettes.
Yes,
We know
it's
it's
such
not
a
good
big
for us, but
mhm,
it gives us a certain type of feeling,
feeling.
so we
Yeah,
do it anyway.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the same thing in being with a
yeah,
narc. That's why people go through withdrawals when it comes time to detaching from them.
yeah. Because it gives
Because
you that heart. It still give you that little hard hit, but you
exactly,
still feel a little niceness when you do it.
exactly. It's like it's yeah, it's like when people drink.
Yeah, it's like
it's
drinking.
it's
Yeah,
it's not healthy. It's not. I mean, listen, everybody has their own say on drinking, but
yeah,
it's not good for your liver.
yeah,
Yet
yeah,
you do it anyway because it makes you feel nice. It gives you a
yeah.
relaxing feeling.
Like the vibe.
That's exactly and that's the same thing with people of this nature
Mhm.
because they're charming one minute. They'll give you the world on a gold platter in the beginning, and
Yeah.
once they put you on the pedestal and you're up there and you're
And you
good,
up there already, and then
that's it.
you're pulling for that person back because you don't know nothing about narcissism at first, until you get most of the time until you get the discard. That's when
Yep.
the light bulb come. Okay, something is horribly wrong because there's no way, and then I think that another reason why you get it is because the demon is kind of like pulling itself away from you. So now you're starting to see things a little clearer now,
Yeah.
But before the discard, I don't know what got your brain and your spirit, but you don't see nothing.
No, you don't see it coming. It's like
You don't see nothing coming.
well,
It's just,
I got a few signs, but
no, you get the
I
signs
wasn't.
of chaos, but you don't know, like you don't see the discard coming for some reason. It's like and you don't know the discard going to be so harsh.
Yeah, that it's but the reason it's so harsh too is because since they can't process emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and you are clearly an emotional person,
Mm-hmm.
you are, you're hurting, you're crying, you're in pain. um it annoys them, it
It does.
agitates them,
It agitates them, yeah,
and they
because
can
they
have
want
a
you to go away.
yeah, it's like they cut you and then they're annoyed that you're bleeding.
You're bleeding, yeah.
And you're like, bro, you just put a knife in my
Knife in
chest,
me, yes.
and you're annoyed with me because I'm in pain and I'm trying to pull this knife out. And it's again, there's so many different things going on at that precise moment. They got new supply, they're getting their ego stroked, you're
Yes.
interfering with that. You're
Mhm.
trying to gain clarity, and they're not trying to give it to you because why? Because they have no intention, just like you said, they have no intention on fully discarding you. It's
No,
just to
they're
kind of
not.
keep you in that
Mhm.
fog. They want to
Mhm.
keep you in that fog. So in
Because
the
you
instant,
always become new supply to them again.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You have to just go and replenish. That's what they want you to do.
yeah,
Go get they even say it like change or fix yourself. Why don't you fix yourself? I heard that many times. Fix yourself, change. Why you can't just change? You're never gonna change, and you're like, I'm not the one who needs to change though. Like what
yeah.
is it that I need to change myself? Like erase myself and make a new one, because um I'm not saying that you don't contribute to the situation, but usually you're reacting to the situation. You
Well,
know what I
because
mean?
we spend so much time enabling
Yeah.
and creating, like people would look at you like, but wait a minute, weren't you just putting up pictures of you and your hubby the past few months doing X, Y, and Z? And they're not understanding that this was done based on your conditioning, not based
Yeah.
on what the true dynamic was.
Was.
It was
Yeah.
based on your conditioning,
Yeah.
because you felt the need to show to the outside world the happy moments.
The happy
You
moments.
weren't putting up pictures of when he was being verbally aggressive or abusive, and
Yeah.
we weren't putting that stuff up.
Yeah.
We were just putting up like when we were having great times,
Yeah.
smiling and laughing,
Yeah, and
because it's
sometimes when you just get discarded, I'm sorry for cutting you. Sometimes when you just get discarded, you come off as a bitter ex
oh yeah,
boyfriend or girlfriend.
oh yeah.
That's what you come off as, and everybody looking at you like, oh no, not that person. Oh, she's
Well,
just
you
mad because he left her, or
I actually didn't, when the discard came, I faked the funk for a while. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was like, when I mentioned in my video, the mistakes that we make after discard, I faked the funk for a while. I sat there and like, oh, putting up pictures, putting up fake smiles. Deep down inside, I was dying inside. I was hurting.
Burning, yeah.
But and he was like, whenever I would put up a picture, he would go hard, and he would go hard and hard, and he was doing things that he knew was disrespecting me and was
Mm-hmm.
hurting me.
Mm-hmm.
And once and you know how you are, like, I mean, all of us, when we were in the addiction stage, we're looking for shit, we're going through social media,
Yes.
we're
Oh my
doing all of that,
God. You're like
we were doing all
detectives
of
at
it.
that point. Like, we gotta find it.
Yeah, and the
I
ex
would
came
drive
back
around
and
his house just to see. It's like, I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie, you do get a little stalkerish.
It's
Okay.
and I tell people that all the time. I said, something, it's part of, that's part of the trauma bond,
It's a part
because
of the cycle, it seems
yeah,
like.
and
Because
it's
you get a little stalkerish. I would drive around his home like 10 times for the day just to see if I can see this new supply. And it was so annoying to me. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Why can I stop?
Oh yeah, no, I went as far as I looked at his, because his ex came back in the picture. Um, once obviously I was out of the picture,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of like that toxic thing between the two of them. Whenever someone breaks up with someone, boom, they, reconnect or whatever. And once I saw that, and then I saw what he was doing, coupled with the different, all these other females, I'm like, where the hell did all these females come from?
Yeah.
I didn't even bother putting up, posts about, ex-boyfriends and this and that. I went incognito. I basically went on a hiatus. I
Yeah.
said, I'm done. I walked away from it. I said, you disrespected me for the last time. I went and deactivated all my social media accounts.
Yeah.
And I was gone for a few months
Yeah.
working on me.
Yeah. Working on,
Just
yeah.
working on me. I was still in pain. I was
Yeah.
still going through the motions. But when I came back, I said, something, this could break me,
Mm-hmm.
or this can make me into something greater.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided to start doing the channel. And I decided to start,
Yeah. Yeah.
helping other people out. I was still going through my healing. When I first started the channel, I was still going through my healing.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, I'm not
With
gonna let it.
my first channel was in 2019, and I was like, I was too emotional back then.
Yeah.
I feel like, that's when everything was just so fresh, and I
Mhm.
found myself crying probably on every video.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this down. I'm not going to do this. Okay. So when I get some clarity and when the brain fog and everything is gone, and when I can
Mhm.
explain, and maybe, help people that's going through this situation, I'm going to come back. Because right now I feel like it's about just my emotions. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I didn't want, I felt like that's why I even deleted a lot of my earlier videos, because you get past that stage, and once you get past that stage, you're like, okay, listen, all right, I've made it here. It's time for me to now, you know um extend my knowledge, like what it is that I can help someone else to heal from, narcissistic abuse, or even go through it and live in it. If you want to live in it, listen, okay, that's on you. But I can tell you how you can live in it in peace. Just let the narcissist do what the narcissist do. That's it.
I mean, yeah, I guess like most of us will look at it as, if you acknowledge they're a narc, why would you want to be with them? But you do have
Yeah.
people who
No, you have
know.
people who do know and still wants to be with the narcissist,
Yeah.
and because they love the narcissist, and regardless of if they know that the narcissist do not have those emotions or don't love them back, they like that high, they like that feeling. And you also have some kind of weirdo people out there who like the back and forth, thing or whatnot. And
Yeah.
if you one of those that want to just live in it and know how to cope with, someone who suffers from that personality disorder, then it's good to listen to people who have experienced it, because no one really knows what it's like unless you live through it, you know.
You know what the amazing thing about it is?
Mm-hmm.
We we as a collective have dealt with people of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
We're not aware of it, and we lasted, years with
Mm-hmm.
these people.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that some people, if they were aware, just like if someone had, let's say, bipolar disorder, that
Mm-hmm.
is a mental health issue, it's something they can't control, it's
Mm-hmm.
something that's within them.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, if they were to say, I suffer NPD, I suffer ASPD, you know, I strongly believe people would be more accepting
Accepting, of course. And
if
that's the thing, and I think that people would definitely be more accepting. And you know what, it's so funny because then you would know what to expect. You already know when to say, okay, I'm not going to go back and forth with this person because he's on his narking moment, so I'm gonna let him narc for a moment. I'm gonna go step to the side until he finished, and then
right,
because they go up and down. They
right,
don't stay one way for too long, But if you don't know, you're defensive. You want to argue with the person. You want to you want them to stop. So
right,
you're like, what are you doing? Like, you know, because they can come off very intelligent and level-headed and sane, where you don't expect someone who come off so highly intelligent to be so stupid,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So
No, yeah.
that's why we go back and forth with the arguing with them, because we're like, wait, there's no way this person that have so much intelligence can be doing such juvenile stuff, you know. So I think
It's
that
yeah,
the big
it's
message is that
frustrating. It's
it's frustrating,
draining.
draining. It will suck the whole life out of you,
Yeah.
you know. And if you see yourself, because I have pictures of me when I was in it, and if you see me, you wouldn't believe that that was me. I must shoot you a couple of them and you're gonna be like, oh my god. You know, and it's very draining. Your eyes start sinking in, you know. They're literally sucking the life out of you, you know, because you can't think straight, you can't function. You can't, you're just tired
Yeah.
a
Because
lot
you're
of times.
constantly walking on eggshells. You're worried about if you're gonna say the wrong
You're very
thing.
right if you're gonna say the wrong thing to trigger them. So it's hard. It's hard to live with for so long. And like I said, right now, still, even I think, I don't know, 20. Well, he discarded me December of 2019, and now it's what, April of 2021. It's been what, a year
And you're
and
in some change,
a
yeah.
year and some change. So it's not, haven't been that long. So being in something for 12 years and only being out for a year and some change, and you know, now knowing that I was actually dealing with, you know, a narcissist, now I'm like, okay, it's time for me to start trying to get my emotions regulated, and you
Absolutely.
know, just being me again, because that
Yeah.
takes time,
It
you know.
definitely does. Healing does take time.
Healing takes time, you know, and
Definitely.
I don't try to force it. I just know that inside I don't have the same pain I felt no more. And that's a good thing. You know, I don't feel that pain of, oh, you know, no, I don't feel that anymore. I know what it is that I would not accept from anyone else moving forward. And,
Mhm.
you know, I feel like I'm getting stronger each day, you know.
That's
So
great.
mhm.
That's great. And I'm sure, you know, with your story, you're gonna give a lot of people who have gone through either similar things or, you know, who are on the verge of going through that, you know, hopefully this will stop that for them.
Yeah, yeah, because let me tell you guys, all right, and this is me speaking to the audience, you know, it don't get better, all right, and it don't matter how much you love them, and you can't say to yourself, oh, you know, one day they're gonna see the light, because they're never gonna see the light. Okay, I'm just letting you know that right now.
Fortunately.
If a person truly suffer from NPD, they are never going to see the light. You're not gonna wake them up. They're not gonna get a ding moment. You're not gonna, you know, it's just not gonna happen. The best thing you can do is find it within yourself to heal yourself and move forward and try to make the best steps you can to make yourself strong and healthy, because you're dealing with someone who is completely toxic in every different way.
And I'm glad you said that because you still have people that are still
Yeah, I
that
mean, you know,
pendulum.
yeah, you know, yeah, and you know what? I'm be honest with you, a lot of us is like that. You know, a lot of us is like that. We go through that, you know, because we are still, you know, here, you
Right.
know, after the discard. So we still go through. I don't know, because they are very convincing. So
Yeah.
sometimes they can convince you in different ways that, you know, they might change,
Right.
or they're gonna be better, or they're gonna do better, until they get you comfortable again, and you know the cycle just start all over again. So
Right. And it could be it's preemptive. So it can be a year, 5 years,
yeah,
10 years, and it's like
they're very patient. Very, very patient. Okay, and
yes.
they have a lot of toys to play with out there. So you're just another one just sitting there waiting for them to come play again.
Yeah, well, not us over here because we already learned our lessons and
Yeah.
we're like, nope, we're done, we're good. we now
I know
know.
it's getting a little late, right? Did you ask me all the questions you wanted to ask me, or?
Yeah, because I think it
Oh,
kind of it flowed into it. It really did.
yeah,
Like most of it flowed, and I told you it was gonna go great. You did
yeah, yeah.
absolutely great.
Yeah.
And so, guys, Leah, thank you so much
Thank
for.
you. Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna leave your page. I'm gonna leave Leah's page in the description box below. I'm gonna leave so you can go visit her channel and check out
thank
her
you so
videos.
much.
You're very welcome.
Um, I just want to say to you all, just be strong. Narcissists is everywhere, and I always say that. And be strong, and use a lot of discernment. For people in general, because they're gonna bite you if they can get you.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. A snake before they
Yeah,
bite you.
they're gonna.
They, yep,
Okay.
that
All
they
right.
do.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this.
I did too, and I'm just so glad that you were able to get out of it and you're here today to share it with
Mhm.
everybody. I know you
Oh, you
touched.
know what's gonna be so much fun one day if we can link up.
Yeah, no, I talked to Amanda about it, and we're gonna, like when I do the sip chat videos, we're gonna have kind of like, I got my little table here, so we'll have, the wine and whatever drinks that we drink, and we'll sit and talk. Maybe we can do a live, because we sometimes do sip chat live.
That is
And
awesome.
and I'm sure that this story, is really going to reach a lot of people who really need it. Like
Yeah.
it's yours is definitely one
Thank you
to.
so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's no problem. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us, because I know there are some subjects that I know, but you
Yeah,
pulled
some
through. You
topics
definitely did.
is a little bit sensitive, and I feel, I'm still struggling with putting out, some of the gruesome details of my situation. But for the most part, I can give some of the highlighted basics,
Right.
of narcissism and what they bring and whatever it is that, and also, I'm here if anybody ever wanna ask me about, oh, do you think mine is a narcissist or whatever? I'm here to answer those questions, and Amanda as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
Thank
guys. So I'm gonna put Leah's her channel. I'm gonna put it in the description box below, the link to it, so that way you can go visit her and see
Amanda is
hers.
awesome. We had a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had conversations before this, and it just it's an amazing feeling to come across people like, just
You can connect with.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hard. That's hard. It's
Especially considering how people now, victims and survivors are guarded.
guarded.
And
I say that all the time. It's like,
yeah,
yes, it's like a lot of us is guarded. Even people that have not been through narcissistic abuse. I think that a lot of people is in bubbles now and very guarded because it's just so much going on, and it's so
yeah,
much things and to be wary of.
yeah,
So I don't blame people for being guarded. And it's a good thing. You have to protect yourself and shield
absolutely.
yourself, because sometimes, like I said, even us as empaths, we still make mistakes, and but the best part about life is knowing your mistakes, moving forward and changing it, and doing better.
Absolutely. And of course, creating those boundaries.
Yeah,
Boundaries
the
are
boundaries. Yes, those is
very,
important.
very key.
Very important.
Very
All right.
important.
So if anything, thank you so much.
Leah, thank you
Bye,
again for being
guys.
here. Guys, thank you for so much for joining us. If you have anything to
Thanks for
ask,
having
any
me.
questions, leave a comment in the comment section. And of course, again, be sure to visit Leah's page so you
Thank
can
you so
see.
much.
You're very welcome. So you can see, her side. You can hear her stories. You can, see her knowledge as well. And because that's what we're here for. We're here to help one another out. We're here to, just support one another. That's what the community is about. So
Yeah.
Leah, thank you again for being here. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm gonna go to bed, girl.
Yes, me too.
All right.
Guys,
Good
thank you so much
night.
for being here. Have a great night to you all. I will see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Tomorrow. I gotta edit that. Look at that. I'll see you guys Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, guys, Leah, have a great night. I will be speaking with you soon. And guys, you guys have a great night as well. Love you all. Good night, guys.